What if, in a single moment, every glacier, every ice sheet, and every frozen cap on Earth melted away? Instantly. The world would not wake up to the same planet it had known the night before. Instead, humanity would be thrust into a nightmare of biblical proportions, a world where coastlines disappear in hours and entire cities sink beneath rising tides. This isn't just a slow disaster, it's an apocalypse happening in real time. The very first shock would come within minutes. As the ice melts, over 70 meters of water, enough to drown every coastal city on Earth, would surge into the oceans. New York, London, Shanghai, Mumbai, and Rio de Janeiro would be among the first to vanish, their skyscrapers swallowed like sandcastles in a rising tide. Imagine the Statue of Liberty with only its torch peeking above the waves, or the Eiffel Tower's base buried underwater. Billions of people, nearly 40% of humanity living near coasts, would have no time to escape. But the chaos wouldn't stop at flooding. The sudden release of such massive amounts of fresh water would disrupt ocean currents instantly. The Gulf Stream, which keeps Europe warm and balances climates across the globe, would collapse like a severed artery. Within days, Europe could plunge into freezing winters, while the tropics bake in unbearable heat. The delicate balance of weather systems would shatter. Hurricanes, typhoons, and superstorms would multiply across oceans already bloated with energy. And the land? Entire ecosystems would collapse overnight. Greenland's and Antarctica's frozen layers store millennia-old pathogens, ancient viruses and bacteria. Released into rivers and seas, they could mingle with wildlife and humans alike, sparking pandemics unlike anything modern medicine has seen. Meanwhile, the sudden change in sea levels would force rivers to reverse flow. The Amazon could back up into the Andes. The Nile might spill uncontrollably into deserts, reshaping entire landscapes in days. Agriculture would become nearly impossible. With climates thrown into chaos, farmland across North America, Asia, and Africa would either drown, dry out, or freeze. Grain silos would vanish beneath floodwaters. Fishing industries would collapse as ocean salinity shifted, killing countless species. Humanity would be left with dwindling resources and nowhere to run. And yet, perhaps the most terrifying effect wouldn't be what we could see, but what we couldn't. The weight of ice pressing on Earth's crust would vanish instantly, triggering earthquakes and volcanic eruptions worldwide. Tectonic plates, suddenly freed, would groan and shift. Imagine Iceland's volcanoes erupting simultaneously, or entire fault lines snapping as the balance of the planet's surface changes overnight. Tsunamis would roll across already rising seas, devouring whatever remained of coastal civilization. Humanity's greatest cities, New York, Tokyo, London, Sydney, would vanish beneath the ocean. New maps would have to be drawn where nations once stood. Florida would disappear entirely. Bangladesh would be erased, and entire island nations like the Maldives or Tuvalu would no longer exist, remembered only as myths beneath the sea. What remains of humanity would retreat inland, crowding into higher ground. But highlands would become crowded fortresses of desperation, with billions fighting over shrinking patches of habitable land. Borders would collapse, economies would vanish, and the world would enter a survival war unlike any in history. And yet for Earth itself, this catastrophe would be renewal. With coastlines redrawn, with climates reshaped, with humans struggling to adapt, the planet would continue turning, unconcerned with the lives it erased. Forests might reclaim drowned cities, coral reefs might grow on sunken skyscrapers, and future explorers, if any survive, would wander through ruins at the bottom of the sea, marveling at the world that once was. So, if all the ice on Earth melted instantly, it would not be the end of the planet, but it might very well be the end of us.